Good evening, everybody. This is Rings That Bind. We come your way every Thursday like this by 7 p.m. And we regularly have one guest or the other, a couple who are willing to share their story, how far they have come, the challenges they've experienced in their marriage, and what has been their secret for success. Now, the reason we do it is because we want to inspire as many of us out there who are also in this marriage journey. Some of us may be struggling, others are just getting in and still trying to figure out how this works. We bring this couple to you so that they can inspire you to know that you can make your marriage work, that your marriage is worth fighting for. And if you work together, you can have the bliss and the happiness that comes with a happy marriage. Don't forget, this show is brought to you by BRIDGEAFRIQUE magazine, home of Bliss, and Panacea Ville International. I'm Nancy Oblete. I host this show. I'm a marriage coach and a behavioral change expert. So today on this show, we have a very interesting couple. People I'm certain we will learn something from again today. And they are none other than Mr. Ben and Mrs. Florence Oketona. Welcome, sir and Mark, to Rings That Bind.
Thank you so much. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. And we are pleased and excited to have you. And also, listener, remember that this is our 13th episode. We have come a full quarter and we are so excited. Now we want to have a special edition of this show where we get to hear from you what you want, your views. If you have questions, we want to hear that. So reach us. If you want to even come live, we'll be glad to have you come live and let's interact together. Just reach us, indicate, and we'll surely get back to you. So our couple, Mr. and Mrs. Oketona, have been married for just about 22 years and they are blessed with 3 girls. We're going to be hearing their story and everything that they have to teach us from 22 years journey. But before we do that, Sir, please, can you just introduce yourself so that we get to know you a bit?
Okay, good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Florence Oketona. I'm a media consultant and author. I'm a mother and a wife.
Wow, nice to meet you, Ma.
And a gender advocate.
Wow, interesting.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure that you agreed to be on the show with us today.
Yeah.
All right, my name is Ben Oketona. I'm a professional builder and a contractor and a father and an entrepreneur as well.
Nice to have you here. Interesting. So we have a culture. We always want to hear the story of how it all began, where you met, what your experience was when you first met, and how you decided to take on this journey together.
Well, we met at the university and we coincidentally attended a Congress meeting together, which we had not been attending before, but we both decided separately to attend the meeting that day, and that was where we met. But prior to that, he had seen me, I didn't know him. He had seen me pass like twice in his department, and he said he liked me. So when we met at the Congress, he asked for my name, and that was how it started. And we were friends for a very long time before we got married at the University of Jos. So that was how we met.
University love. I also had the privilege of meeting my husband too while in school. So, sir, what was the journey like getting married? What were the things that made you decide to settle down? What attributes did you see? What were the signals you got that made you decide that this is where your bus stops?
Well, At that time, I just found that we needed to take the relationship to a whole new level. And obviously, we had finished school, and I felt that, and I had secured a job. I had secured a job that time, and she also was hunting for a job. If I'm not mistaken, that time she was hunting for a job, and we felt like, well, what is left other than to just consummate it? We thought that, oh, we have resources at our disposal, very little big resources that we can put to best use, because when two come together, you tend to make the best of your resources. You'll be able to manage it better. So, well, that's basically what prompted us to say, okay, let's take it to the next level.
Wow, fantastic. So on this journey, I had the privilege of chatting a bit with Madame yesterday, and she mentioned that when you started your journey, you were living with your parents before you moved into your own accommodation. So how was the experience like starting, being at home with in-laws, and what did you do to ensure that your relationship with in-laws started on a good note? Because oftentimes how we start is a pointer to a lot of things that will happen within the relationship and in the continuous fellowship with in-laws. So what were the things you did? How did it all begin with in-laws?
Just like I said yesterday, the in-law, the parents we stayed with was just his mom, because his dad had passed at that time, and there was no other person in the house except his other siblings had also gone in search of greener pastures. So just him, his mom, and me. And prior to the time we got married, I developed a relationship with his mom. So she was also like a mother to me. So there was really not much difference. And the only thing was that we just needed to have our own space, and then to learn how it is to be on your own, because then we didn't really know much we didn't experience being on our own, because if we got broke, we just like I said earlier yesterday to you, if we got broke, we had interventions from his mom. She was a businesswoman who had her money, so she always intervened if we got broke. So we didn't really know how it was to be on your own until we moved out. I mentioned that we stayed for 3 months. No, I think it was a mix-up. We stayed for 10 months before we moved to our own accommodation.
Wow, interesting. So, okay, so when you moved, there were differences, definitely, right?
Yeah.
Because right now you're talking about her coming in, stepping in financially sometimes and all. How did you manage this change when you moved? I also know that Oga, at that point you were starting your own company. You weren't on salary anymore.
Yes,
So what was the financial experiences like when you moved and started out as a couple alone?
Well, it was really, really challenging, and it gave us opportunity to be able to plan and well, it kept me on my feet. Let me just put it at that, well, this responsibility will not go away. And all I needed to do was to increase my capacity. The truth about the matter is that you can never wish away responsibility. All the best you can do is to continue to develop capacity and to put in your best, knowing fully well that the responsibility can only grow. So it will not go away. So it was fun. And one thing I learned that period was being a freelancer. You need to believe in yourself. You need to trust God. I mean, that was my biggest gain. Was my biggest lesson, learning how to trust God and to depend on God, because it's really not easy. There was nobody to mentor me, to tell me that, oh, this is the way to go, this is how to do it. I had to learn the rope myself, you know. So I'm not trying to say I'm self-made, but what I'm trying to say is that there was nobody around willing to, or I didn't approach anybody, or I didn't see anybody around I could approach to say, please, how did you do this? So it was hard to learn the rope. Yes.
Wow, interesting. So when you started your business, did you have some financial challenges? What was your system managing these challenges until you began to settle and make more money to take care of your home?
Well, the first challenge I had was this is very common to all entrepreneurs. The startup is always very, very challenging. You have need for equipment. Even sometimes when you are asked to come and bid for a job, you don't have the resources to bid. You sometimes it requires that you have to print some certain things. You have to make presentation. You don't even have money, which is very common to every startup business. But now one thing I discovered that I learned in the course of our journey is that it's not everything that you have to spend. You have to save some for the rainy day. You know, so when resources come in, when you get a job, you know that job is coming to make available resources for tomorrow, because the challenges of tomorrow will definitely come. The blessings of tomorrow will come, the challenges of tomorrow will come, and tomorrow will demand yesterday from you. So if you have saved, so you have to bring it to the table, you know. So those are the lessons I learned on the way.
Wow. How did you support at this time when he was building and needed so much resources? How did you support to keep the home going?
Then we knew that we were in the journey together. So what I took on a paid employment then. So although the salary was really not much, but I started my career as an advert executive in one of the media houses. So I had salary. So when the salary comes and we will now put the resources together, at least we buy the basic needs. We had just one car. Then we go and deposit money in a filling station where we usually go to collect fuel. So just give them money up front so that we won't be stranded, at least for fuel. Then we had a grocery store very close to our house where we used to go and collect things on credit, to write down our name so that if once the money comes, at least we knew that at least there was one constant money coming at the end of the month. We use that to offset it. But if his money comes before the one for the end of the month, we also use his money to offset it. So we're running a common purse then. We didn't have anything like this is your own, this is my own. If anybody that gets the money will go and shop for the house, buy the basic needs we had just one child. We'll buy the basic needs for the child, diapers, food, and the rest. So that was how we kept getting by until things started getting a little easier for us.
Well, interesting. I noted that you mentioned you usually go and drop like upfront, pay for fuel that you know will take you through the month. So,
Yes.
So like Mr. Ben was talking about planning before time. It means that you knew how much fuel you would use within that period, and you could plan for that. You could also plan for your daughter and all that within that time. That shows a lot of planning coming into this and thought. I think that it is beneficial for people listening to be able to have a budget, to know what your monthly expenses are so that you can put it together. That's so powerful. And then I also wanted to ask, as you spoke about having a child coming in, what was the experience moving into parenthood for you? How did it happen? I know that you had some challenges initially having a child. You had some miscarriages and all. So what was the transition like? How did you navigate those challenges and then eventually having a child?
Okay. Having a child was really a wonderful experience. After all the challenges we passed through, we eventually had a child, and it was a wonderful experience. When we had the child, the day we had the child, both of us did not sleep. We were just looking at her, and we pledged, we continued to say, oh, we'll give our best to this child and the others that will come after her. And we resolved that we were going to raise our children in a godly way. It was challenging at first because I discovered that if she had to cry, it was me that they would take her to. That was the first shock. I'll say culture shock. Let me use that word. That was the first shock that I had, that, oh, so if this child cries, I can't take the child elsewhere. It will be me. But altogether, it was a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
I think, interestingly, having the child, one would have expected that it will compound our situation. But in all honesty, it rather brought a relief to us. That's when I knew that having a child indeed is a blessing. You know, what we're going through that time. I thought maybe having a child will add to our responsibility, and then we strain our finances. But on the contrary, in fact, it opened doors for us. I noticed that the things that we struggled with before we had our first child, most of them just fizzled away when she came. You know, things started getting better. So, indeed, having a child is a blessing, and the doors that were not opening before then were just opening of their own accord. So this was my first, I was really shocked. That was my first experience, and I was like, wow. And when the second came, it got better. When the third came, it got much better.
Wow, interesting. You know, I wanted to come back to what you said concerning having this shock that, oh, when the child cries, you know, that realization that I'm now a mother. Now, many people, when they get into marriage and we all have been there, right? Expecting to have a child and being a parent and all. Sometimes those lessons don't settle in, that when this child comes, we'll be solely responsible until the experience really comes. And then it hits us and we are like, wow, this is it. So I'm a mother, I'm responsible for another entire human being, to give them their initial basic needs until they are able to stand on their own. So I want us to move back a bit and then talk about the experience with the miscarriage. How did you go through that challenge? What were the support that you got during those I think it was more than one, right? The miscarriages.
Yeah.
What were the support that you had? How did the both of you face it and all?
The miscarriages were very unpleasant experiences, but to the glory of God, we had each other first as support systems. If we lose one, we still encouraged ourselves that, well, we can still get another one. Then we had a supportive family. They kept urging us and praying along with us and giving us examples, using some other people as examples that these people have been through it before and this is how they overcame. So we had a lot of support. We had friends who supported us. We had family members who were always praying for us and praying with us. It got to a point, there was a time after I think the third one miscarriage, that we were praying one day and my husband said, he was in his prayers, he said, Lord, even if you don't give us a child, you are still God. And, you know, I opened my eyes and I got angry that what kind of prayer is that? He said, no, even if the Lord decides not to make us parents, he is still God. And that was why when I broke down and began to cry that, no, I will not have that. He still has to give me because he said in his word that none shall be barren in the land. So I will not be barren. And we thank God. A few months after that incident, after that particular incident, I took him, and to the glory of God, I carried the baby to full term and I gave birth.
Wow, interesting. So, sir, what was the hardest part for you during this period with the miscarriages and all?
Yeah, well, the hardest part for me was seeing her go through all the procedures, you know, before. Oftentimes you have to go to get service strengthened. Yes, you know. So my greatest challenge was just seeing her go through. I wish it was something that could help out. I mean, something that could assist him. But through it all, I was just, I was not really worried about the situation. I was only concerned about her, how she would cope. Just like she rightly said, that period, I just trusted God that whatever will be. I mean, anything, God will not, he said, we will not withhold any good thing from us. So, and all these promises, I trust them. I know that God will keep his promises. So my concern that time was her, how she will weather this situation and be able to stand and go through it. But thank God, God saw us through.
Wow, interesting. So, Ma, same question. What was the hardest part of this whole experience for you? What was the most challenging part of it?
And the most challenging were those times, you know, as a first-time mom, you begin to shop for baby things, you start buying things, imagining how you will take care of your baby, how the baby will look, and at the end of the day, you find out that the journey is abruptly terminated, and sometimes they have to now pack those things and go and hide them from me so that I'll not be seeing them, because after each miscarriage, I'll come back home, gather the things I bought and begin to look at them and cry. And you know, that time, the hardest part was coming back home without the baby and coming back home, looking at those items that I had already bought for the baby and having to now look at them and begin to imagine if the baby had, if the pregnancy had not been terminated, how I would have been happy. Those were the hardest parts. After each miscarriage, I came back home, you know, to an empty house. And, you know, when you are pregnant, you begin to attend antenatal with some other women, you know, and you form a bond, like a friendship with them. The hardest part would be after when they now give birth to their own children, they may call you or send a text that, oh, me, I've put to bed. And then you see that yours is not, you could not bring home your own child. So those were the hardest parts. But eventually, I also overcame. When I brought home my own baby too, I at least I could use those items for the baby, and that was when the healing process began. The good thing is that God puts forgetfulness in our minds as humans, so much so that as soon as the challenges you are going through is over, you forget all the other pain you have gone through. That was what happened to me.
Wow, that's so true. The ability to forget is a powerful tool that we are able to, like how you say, forget my pain, forget my father's house, the struggles and all. And God gives us a beautiful story at the end of the day. So just to recap, listener, we've been talking with Mr. and Mrs. Ben Oketona. And here they have shared with us a couple of things. They shared with us concerning their financial struggles, where we learned that even though they didn't have much, they had a system to plan and to budget. And then another major thing they shared with us was that even when they had to go into debt, it was something the both of them were aware of. One person wasn't going into debt for the family. They did it together, so they knew what they needed to pay back together, and they had a plan to work it out. And because their resources were small, they pulled in everything. Nobody held back any part to say, this is mine, I have to hold on to this and all. Then we have also talked about their experience with some miscarriages they had in the early parts of their relationship, the challenge with it, the pain that they went through, and they've told us their anchors. First of all, it was God, relying on their faith and praying consistently, trusting God. Now they did this together because they had prayer sessions together and all. Another thing that they had was they had each other. They were there for each other. So they weathered the challenge together. It was not one person struggling through the pain and the other sitting back and watching. Then, of course, they had family and friends to support them. The family system is such a great and awesome place to find support and to find strength when we have challenges. I really hope for you that as you work together as a couple, you do your best to ensure that you maintain a strong family relationship, a strong relationship with in-laws and with your own primary family, so that when you need them, they step in for you. And have friends also, because the circle of friends is really powerful. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir and ma'am. As we continue, I want to ask.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to ask if let's assume there's somebody watching this right now and they are going through challenges. They have delay with childbirth, or maybe they are also experiencing series of that's interrupted pregnancies that do not reach term. What would be your recommendation to them? What would you say to them?
Well, what I would say is, I haven't gone through it before. What I would say is that don't panic. Don't panic. Be anxious for nothing. Actually, when you panic, you make it difficult. You make it extremely difficult for yourself when you panic. There's absolutely nothing that has happened to you or that's happening to you that has not happened to people before. And you definitely overcome. What I want to say is that you draw strength from each other. You encourage each other. You will take your eyes off the pain. You encourage, you encourage each other and stand. Well, when we went through what we had to go through, we were together. I mean, most parts of the day is 24 hours in a day. I think we spend more than close to 15 hours together.
Yes.
Close to 15 hours. So I think it's very, very important to draw strength from each other and to encourage each other. And agreements agreeing to go through it together is priceless. It's priceless. So I think there's absolutely nothing that can not be surmountable. Yes.
Well, thank you. Ma, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes. I just, if any woman is going through what we went through, I would like to tell the woman that now, 22 years ago when we got married, the health system was not this good. There were lots of assumptions. They will assume that this could be what is happening, this could be what is responsible. But now the health system has really improved. You can at least a couple to get a good health care system, to get a good doctor, a good gynecologist to determine what is actually wrong before you begin to blame anybody. Most of the time, it is just a minor issue that is wrong, that is treatable. So it is better, first of all, to seek the face of God to direct you to a very, very good hospital where they can attend to you, treat you very well, and before you know it, it will become a thing of the past. And then when you are going through it, don't let it be what you put in front of you. For instance, don't wear a gloomy face. Ensure that you rejoice with those that are rejoicing. Then in church, I used to, anybody that had children, then I'll be the one carrying the child. I'll be the one in front, taking care of the baby for them. And that was where I drew my strength from. I never had a time when they were having maybe a birthday party and they invited me and I said no, because I don't have children, I will not go. I went and I contributed my own quota. So that is what makes you know that, well, if you have done it for Mrs. A, you can also do it for me. God that has done it for one person can also replicate the miracle for you. So if you're going through that kind of thing, don't wear a gloomy face. Ensure that you draw strength from God and always be happy, knowing fully well that it will come to an end one day.
Wow, interesting. Thank you so much. Now you just talked about some major things. That's staying together through the challenge, connecting. You said that you spent a lot of time together during that challenge, so nobody was feeling alone or left out within that problem. And I think that that's so huge, that people learn to do that when they face challenges. And then you also talked about drawing, you also talked about rejoicing with others who have this. Is kind of like, it shows faith. It shows that the prayer, you also believe in the prayer, because as you pray, you join others to celebrate. Instead of wearing a gloomy face, you are there with them, you participate in their joy, and God sees your heart, the pure joy that comes from your heart. Then he's also willing to open up the doors for you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I want us to move a bit from this and talk about something that I think is not so pronounced in our society. Very few couples in our society create time for holidays, vacationing, and spending time together apart, that's outside their home, from their usual environment. So I know that you do this deliberately in your relationship, even before you had money to travel very far. You always created a system that you had some level of vacationing. Can you explain to us what you do generally when you have time away from home? Oh my God, I think I have lost them there. Okay, I'm sure they will rejoin us when they will join us shortly. So listener, remember that you can be part of this show. You can ask your questions. You can be part of this show. we are having a special edition, and we want you to participate in that edition. We want you to send in your questions. We want you to even come online with us live and share your experience so far. From the 13 episodes we have done so far, what you have learned, what has stood out for you, what you are beginning to apply in your relationship. And yes, if you have any questions, we'll be so glad to take your questions. So please reach us on any of the media that you're watching this on. You can simply send us a private message or send us even a comment, and we will be sure to reach you back on how you can participate for that special edition we are going to be having. Then also, I want to remind you of BRIDGEAFRIQUE magazine's program that is coming up, the Talent Hunt, 72 Hours of History. Is going to be happening, and we want you to be part of it. We will be bringing people into the same house as inmates. They will be taught various skills. They will be taught various they'll be taught based on their talents and their interests, and eventually a competition will happen. Winners will be picked from that. If you want to be part of that, stay tuned. We'll give you details. We are starting in Nigeria, but we hope that this show will go to other parts of Africa, and we will help to improve people, give them the other things that they need, the skills that they need to add to their talent, so that they can be exceptional and extraordinary. Our couple is still not back. I guess their network must have gone terribly bad, but we give them a few minutes to come back online. Yes, so we are celebrating 13th episode, and we've decided to do something spectacular to celebrate this. We want to say thank you to all the 13 couples that have been part of this experience for the past 13 weeks. And as we celebrate that, we'll be sending them gifts, just few souvenirs to say thank you. This is one of those souvenirs we'll be sending out. Is a jotter with all the faces of everybody that's been part of the Rings That Bind community. That's every couple that has attended so far. We'll be sending this to them. It's a beautiful jotter. We'll be sending this to them. And then also just to appreciate them, because it's not easy to leave your busy schedule. I know some of them have been really busy and they left it all to be part of us. So we are also sending this out, throw pillows with their names and their faces, saying thank you for being part of Rings That Bind. We'll be sending this out to all our couples. I have a few here that I can show you from the very first episode. All our 13 couples will get these as we celebrate our first quarter, our first successful quarter. We've had 13 episodes uninterrupted by the grace of God. Yes, and this is our couple for today, Mr. and Mrs. Ben Oketona. They also will be getting this as an appreciation for being part, for coming to share their story, for being willing and open to use their story to encourage and enlighten others that are also on this path of their journey, on this path, being married and experiencing what marriage is. So while we wait, I hope that they can join us shortly so that we continue our conversation. I also want to remind you that Panacea Ville International is an organization that is dedicated to working with couples who are either about to get married or are in the marriage and they are struggling. They have challenges within the marriage that they are struggling to be able to handle. We help them through our interventions. We have several packages that they can get help that they need, the help that they need. So you can also reach us to get to know how you can do that. These packages can be physical, that's if you live in Abuja, or you can have this done with you via the virtual means that we can use either of the virtual systems to reach you. We also have group coaching. We have one-on-one coaching. We have group coaching. Then we have premarital counseling for people coming into the marriage sphere. Our premarital counseling, we call it before the aisle. Before the aisle. Now that we host an online version on our website. You can go on our website and do that fully on the website. Or if you still want, you would rather have an interaction instead of doing a self-paced learning on the website, you can reach us as well. We also do that. It can be virtual or live. Then our group coaching is for couples who are struggling to agree, who have challenges resolving their conflicts, and they have communication issue. Like we all know, communication is huge. Communication is one of the main things that people struggle to be able to have a grasp on in their relationship. Even with our couples that have come here, many of them have alluded to the fact that during their earlier years in their marriage, they had communication issues. So if they had communication issues and they were able to overcome those issues, it also shows that you can overcome your issues no matter what stage in marriage you are in right now, if you have that work done. So if you want to reach us to do our premarital counseling, we will be reach us for the group coaching, will be open to that. If you would rather have a one-on-one private coaching, just you and your spouse, we are also open to that. Also, BRIDGEAFRIQUE magazine has the opportunity for you to advertise your programs on BRIDGEAFRIQUE magazine. BRIDGEAFRIQUE magazine is an in-flight magazine for Ethiopian Airlines. So you know the people that you meet when you advertise on a magazine that is on Ethiopian Airlines, that is on an airline. It will meet unique people, it will meet people from across the globe, and you have the opportunity to market that wide if you choose BRIDGEAFRIQUE as one of your outlets to market your products or services. Also, another advantage is this: BRIDGEAFRIQUE magazine focuses on showcasing Africa to the world. So every episode focuses on a particular country in Africa, their culture, their business opportunities, and all. So you know that this magazine would enter the right hands if you choose to advertise. So you can reach us as well, and we'll give you details on what is required to advertise on BRIDGEAFRIQUE magazine. Oh my God, my couple is not back. I don't know what happened. Their network is probably still down. Oh, you're back. I was actually waiting for you. Thank God that you came back. Yes, so before the network ceased and you had to go, we were talking about vacationing. I was about to ask a question about that because we live in Africa. We don't value some of these things. We don't see the import of them. So, but I want us to start first of all by you telling us your story, what you do usually when you take out time to be away from home, away from work, and just spend time with family. What do you usually do?
We developed a habit from our early years in marriage to always go on vacation. We started when we didn't have much to go out of town. We had Miango Rest House. We'll go there, check in to Miango Rest House for maybe 2 or 3 days, and we'll rest and have fun together, play with the children. Then the children were really small. We had just 2 children. Then we'll just go to Miango Rest House and then have a little bit of vacation, maybe 3 days, 4 days, and then we'll come back home. We found out that when we came back from such places, we were refreshed. Then after that, things improved and we had opportunity to go out of town to Abuja. We'll go to Abuja at times, we go to Makurdi, we'll just go maybe for a week with the children. We'll come back and we'll be refreshed. And as time went on, we had opportunity to also travel out of the country. We also did it together. We took time to go. We discovered that during those vacations, we formed a better bond with the children and with each other. What we do outside the home were more. We had opportunity to meet other people, and then we discovered that traveling out of our base, even not necessarily even out of the country, even just to Makurdi, to Abuja, was education for us and for the children. So as we went from one place to the other, we got better knowledge, we met more people, we increased our network by traveling. We met people, some were coincidence, while some other ones were prearranged. But we discovered that going out of our comfort zone to just go to another place to go and rest or relax or remove every other issue that we had from our mind was really, really therapeutic.
Wow, interesting. So you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, is somehow expensive, but it's worth it. Yes, really worth it. I can tell you, we have no regrets. It's something that we do regularly. But we did a point where because we go to Abuja, for example, we go to Abuja often, to the point where we had to get a house. So it's not only we separated from staying in the hotel to, getting a house in Abuja. This is one thing, one exercise that is really, really important to us as a family. We got to know each other better. We use that opportunity to speak to the children, to challenge them, to tell them that there's no limit to where they don't have limits, So it has really helped us. It has really, really helped us. In fact, to a point where some of the girls are not here, but we talk regularly. We can't, for me, it's extremely difficult to spend 24 hours without speaking to any of them. So that's how this exercise has really helped us. So I think, look at the cost. You may say that it's going to be expensive. Yes, it's expensive, but you need to invest in the relationship. You need to invest in the things that matters to you the most. So we felt family is first. Family is the most important thing, and we get to invest in it. So traveling together is a form of investing into the family, and I can tell you it's really worth it.
You said something, sir. You said that you find it difficult to stay a whole day without talking to your daughter, not your wife, your daughter. Yeah. And I'm like, wait, how old is this girl first?
Well, she's 20.
Wow, she's 20 years old. Yeah. And she has daddy calling her. That just goes to show how much, how close you are with her to talk to her as regularly as that. 24 hours, you must speak. Wow. It also shows the quality of time you have invested into this. Because, I meet people. I also have a father, right? And we don't have this kind of relationship, even though I think that after I grew up and got married, my dad and I became closer than we were when we lived together and all. But we still don't have that kind of neat relationship that you are describing. And I think that other than going out and having vacations, there are certain things that you must have done to deliberately build this. Can you elaborate on those things?
Well, there are a few things as a matter of that I make sure that the They know everything that I do. My business, they're involved. They're involved in the business, in decision making. I don't even travel without telling them that I'm going to travel. It will make gains and make sure they get to know that, oh, this, if we deliver a project and make sure they know that, oh, God has seen us through this project and we have gotten a new, oh, this thing that we prayed about, it has happened, you know. So I make sure that I carry them along. And this did not even start now. This started even when they were quite young. I make sure I wouldn't say that, oh, they are too young to understand this. No, I make sure that we're at every point in time, we're on the same page. Even they are, when they had no input in what I was doing, I made sure I was telling them. So, and I felt that it's really important in just to bring all the fabrics of the family together. You know, it's extremely important that everybody is on board, whether they have something to contribute or not. It's just important that everybody is on board.
Wow, that's interesting. You know, a lot of us grew up in societies where we were told their children, if you talk too much, what are you discussing with a 3-year-old? What do they understand by what you're saying? But from what you're saying is that even when the child does not have an input or a contribution to make, you are building a bond with that child. You are even helping them express themselves because you are giving them opportunity to have this conversation with you. They are learning the tools, the skills of communication. Eventually, it will not be a challenge for them to communicate with other people because they've learned it from home. And I think that that's really, really powerful.
In addition to that, it stimulates responsibility in them. So when with them, when you tell them, oh, this is what I'm doing, you know, when you now say, this is what we are doing together, this is what we're doing, and this is what we got out of what we did, and this is what we do with what we got out of what we did, you know. You know, it just stimulates responsibility. It gives them a sense of belonging that, look, this, I belong to this place and I'm not going anywhere. I have to contribute to this growth. So, and they appreciate your efforts. When they see you, oh, I've done this, I had to do this to get this. I had to sacrifice this to get this. So when you give them something, no matter how little, they appreciate.
Wow, interesting. So you see, you just meet.
I told you.
Yeah, you just made me remember another thing. Now, this is also the reason why some rich people will not want their children to marry from poor homes. Because if you are doing this with your children, you are also teaching them business in the process. They are learning what it means to be an entrepreneur, to get a job, the diligence in delivering the job, how to plan for the money that comes out of the job, so that we don't think that every money that comes in, we just blow it, spend it, and all. So while you are having this conversation with them, they are also learning these things that may not be at the fore, but is part of the conversations that they are having. So these children grow up knowing the place of money in their life, what the role of money is. They have seen you plan over time because they are involved with you in the planning. And so it's so easy for them to do it. Now, contrast that with somebody who didn't experience any of that. They just grew up and all they saw is that when daddy had money, he bought this in the house, he bought that in the house. So they don't know the planning that goes into it. They don't know the responsibility that goes into it. And sometimes they come off very entitled. If there's money, why are we not spending it? Why are we not doing this? So it's a huge, huge lesson. And I want us listeners to pick this and begin to implement it. They need to know how they are taken care of. The money that comes in, not because you want to burden them to say, oh, after all I did for you, but because as you teach them, they are also learning. They are learning to be responsible, learning how money works, learning how what people do to make money legitimately, and what they can also do when they grow up to do that. Wow, that's so powerful. So, Emma, I wanted to ask you this: if you were to speak to other couples about vacationing, spending time together, what would be the reason you would advocate that they do that?
The reason, most of the major reason why you should vacation together is that you form a family bond when you vacation together. There are things that you wouldn't normally discuss at home, in your home setting. But during vacation, it's a happy mood. It's a time when your guards are let down. So thing that you won't normally say in an uptight environment, you say it. If you are not happy with something that maybe your husband did before, it's a time to jokingly just say, oh, that thing you did, I didn't really like it. And it will be like a, or if you also did something that he didn't like, it's a time for him to say it, because all guards are let down. You are all in very, very relaxed moods. So you tend to get closer to each other when you vacation outside your home. When you go to, it's not, you don't necessarily need to even leave town. You can decide to just go to a resort.
Oh, it seems our network is.
You can have be eating out. You can eat out instead of cooking. You can eat out during that period. You form a bond together. If you can do it before marriage, because before marriage you go out a lot with your spouse. Why not within marriage? You can also do it, practice it, just to bring back the memories you had before, while you were dating. It's a time to refresh, or to just reiterate your commitment towards each other. So it brings the couple together. Vacationing is a very important tool in bonding. And the Western world, they really understand this better than us in Africa. They take time out every year to go out and just go and relax, not thinking of job, not thinking of their responsibility, and not thinking of their duties at home. They go, and if you can do it with your family, why not? If you can do it, if you have maybe a family that you are close together, you can organize it and go together. If not, if you have your own family too, maybe with your children, you can also go with the children.
Wow, thank you so much, man. Sir, you want to add something to that?
No, she has said it all. So it's very, is an integral part of our life. It's something that we really do not. You cannot say you don't have time for it. There's time. Honestly, there's always time. Even as a freelance person, you can make time. You can plan, and you can execute. And you come back and find out that nothing is amiss, So most times you are afraid that, oh, when I go, everything will crumble. Nothing will go wrong. Nothing will go wrong. Right now, we are in a tech age. So there's nothing you can do anything from anywhere. You're not really missing anything. And then there are opportunities everywhere. You just wouldn't know whose path and yours will cross. So, but so when you go out, you meet people. Now you meet people as much as you are meeting people, you are also meeting opportunity. If you will meet someone today, you look around, every person that is coming to your space is coming with an opportunity. Yes, so it's extremely important that we let our steam, we refresh ourselves, and we'll come back and focus.
Yeah, one of the things I like about traveling is also the opportunity to learn. Because as you said earlier, when you travel, you meet new people, you interact with different cultures. Now you can even be in the same place. Like for example, you can be in Abuja here and go to somewhere like Buhari, and then you meet an experience that you've never had or encountered because of your location. That's just another way to open our minds. In fact, I love having conversations with people that are well-traveled. Their thinking is on another level because of that experience that they've had traveling together. And of course, the bonding in the family is something else. You know, even a simple walk, like when my husband and I sometimes just decide to leave the house and take a walk, we discover that we talk more during that walk than when we are sitting down in the house together. There's something about doing something else together where you are relaxed, you are not facing any other responsibility and all. It has a way of pulling you together and helping you to focus on each other and on your relationships. I think that is so beautiful. If you're listening to us and you've never had an opportunity to go out of vacation with your partner, I think you should make it a priority. It's something you can plan for. It's something you can make as small as you can afford or as big as you want. It's all about planning. It's all about dedicating time and resources to it. If it is important, we'll find a way around it. It doesn't have to be away from town, just like Mrs. Florence has told us. It can be in the same town, just a different location, and have that experience of being together away from your regular routine and enjoy life together. Once again, I want to say thank you so much. Now, but before we go, Ma, you said you are a women's advocate. And I know that especially in our time, when it comes to things like finance and all, a lot of women feel like they shouldn't bring in their money to the house. They should hold their own money because it's their independence. Like there's a kind of like, I feel like it's not really balanced. Sometimes it's too one-sided. You have to be autonomous. You have to hold your own money so that the man doesn't talk anyhow to you. Then there's the other view that he's the one that is supposed to take care of the house and do everything, and you're not supposed to contribute to that. So I want you, as someone who is a women's advocate and also who is somebody in the marriage space that has been married for 22 years with all the experience that you've had, to weigh in on this conversation and give your thoughts.
Thank you very much. Well, feminism has taken another different dimension than what it's supposed to be. When we talk about advocacy for women, we are only talking about inclusiveness, and we're talking about our voices being at least included and heard. But you know, the present age has interpreted feminism to mean that you have to rebel against the system, you have to rebel, you have to do your own thing without your husband knowing, you have to grow your own money so that in case there's anything, you just take a walk. That is not my own idea of advocacy for women. Advocacy is maybe a woman that's in an abusive relationship. How can we rescue such a woman? A woman that maybe she does not know how to support in the home, because being married together is not a one-man thing. It is together. You have to do it together. If you want to build a house, you have to build it together. Each person bringing his own resources. Or if he's building a house, you say, oh, so while you are building the house, let me take care of the food and the running of the home so that you can have more money to build the house. If you did not bring that support, you will still have to remove from the money for building house to take care of the home. So while he is doing that, you can also take care of it. While he pays school fees, you can take care of the children's uniform, their snacks, what they take to school. If it's a boarding school, you can buy their provisions and all that. That is also a support system. But if you say, oh, my money is stacked up in the bank, I'm waiting for the day the man will be misbehaved so that I can go and take it. That is selfishness. and it does not carry the family, it makes the family growth to be stunted. But if you come in your full support and you ensure that the money you have is an open secret, you are not hiding anything from it, he is not hiding anything from you, you are not also hiding anything from him. I think that will go a long way to make the growth smoother. If there is so much pressure on the man, you stand the risk of losing the man early. But if you support, he can also relax, he can also breathe, he can also take time for himself, so that the two of you grow up together in a healthy manner. You can also have opportunity to check into the hospital to check yourself regularly, because you will know that, oh, we are in this together. But if you look at it as a one-man journey, or you look at it as a separate journey, honestly, that's the foundation already faulted. But if you look at it that, oh, we are going the same direction, so if even is the one building the house, I'm not threatening that, oh, tomorrow he's going to say, I'm the one that built the house, therefore you have no stake in it. That does not come up at all. So you look at that, it's a joint thing. What is my own idea about this marriage is one for all and all for one. Whatever belongs to A belongs to B. And if A is making progress, we are also making progress together. If B is making progress, we are also making progress together. So my advocacy is to allow women to also empower them, to be empowered, so that you can cushion the effect. The economy is so bad now that even the two people working together is not even enough. Talk more of only one person doing it. So it is better with our hands together, so that we wash the hands together, so that the hands can be clean. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Ma, for that. I think it's important that we keep reiterating that we are women. We should be given opportunities to be out there to do the best that we can do. But we are also mothers, we are wives, and we have to play those roles and play them well, so that our family grows. If we succeed outside, it should be for the benefit of the family, not to compete or contest the man's role in the home or in the relationship. So thank you so much for that. Now, finally, before you leave, I just have one question for you. What's your thoughts concerning what we do on Rings That Bind, bringing in couples and having these conversations?
All right. I think it's a good idea, it's a noble idea. Marriage is a continuous learning. You can't, and nobody has the final or has the templates for it. So I think we learn here. We're 20 years in marriage, and we're still learning. There are things we pick from other people, we learn from other people, and say, oh, we'll do this, we'll try this. Every day we're learning every day. So I think it's a welcome idea, and I think it's noble. Yes.
Thank you so much. So once again, we want to thank you for being here. And when you went off, I was showcasing this. We'll send this to you as an appreciation for being on our show. We are sending it to everybody, actually, because we just hit our 13th episode, and we are so excited that we've come this far. When we started, it seemed we were not going to be able to sustain this for 3 episodes or 4 episodes, but God has helped us, and we've had our 13th episode. So we also have this jotter that shows all the couples that have graced us with their presence and with their stories in this 13th episode. So we want to say a big thank you. We'll be sending this across to you to appreciate you for your time, for leaving your schedules and giving us this time, sharing your personal stories that we do not have rights to, but you have chosen to use it to inspire us. Thank you so much, and we are so appreciative of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So listener, that's how it's been on Rings That Bind today. I am sure that you have learned something definite and you are going to be using that to inspire yourself and work through your relationship. I'm hoping to hear from you. I'm hoping to get messages to say, I want to be on that special edition as well. Have a beautiful night rest, and it's bye-bye from us here.